Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another video. My name is Ketan. I'm that day-to-day guy, just sharing day-to-day life tips based on my own personal experiences and my own personal philosophies. So today's video is entitled The Power of Living Within Your Means. And it makes me sound like an absolute granddad. Makes me sound old. The kind of thing that people would say to me when I was younger. But you know what? I wish that somebody told me this or somebody explained this to me in a way that it landed for me. So here's hoping that what I'm about to say has a positive impact on anyone that's watching. And there's two ways you can listen to this video. You can listen to this video with making up all the excuses in your head saying, yeah, but it's all right for you because this. Or you can listen to this by thinking, well, actually, if I'm honest with myself and I look at my situation, maybe I could do this or maybe I can do that. That's going to determine your outcome, not just from this video that you're watching, but just generally how you listen to people in life and signs in life. So let's go to living within your means. What does it mean? It basically means simply spending less than you earn. And that is especially at the moment, we've been through some real tough economic times. And I always have the philosophy that I can only control what's going on in my head, in my mind, in my household. I can't control the economy. Would I like house prices to be cheaper? Hell yeah. Would I like car prices to be cheaper? Yes. I'd like everything to be cheaper, but unfortunately life doesn't work that way. So when I look at houses, for instance, let's talk about houses because that is a real kind of a topic of conversation today, because there's a lot of young people who find it difficult to get on the property ladder. I'm choosing my words very, very carefully because I don't want to say impossible, because there are people who are doing it. And give an example. There's a restaurant I go to in Windsor where there's a waitress who I chat to sometimes. Her other half works in the kitchen, and they once came to view my flat that I had for sale 3 years ago. They're about 25 at the time, and I thought to myself, man, these guys they look like kids. So I said to them, I said, how long have you been in the country? And they said, they're Eastern European, and they said they've been in the country for 3-4 years. I was like, wow. And you're like 25 and you're already, you're buying a place. Good for you, I said. And they said, yeah, when we first moved here, we knew that we wanted to buy a place. So we, we didn't go out, we didn't drink, and we didn't do all the other stuff that some, other people were doing. And I thought to myself, fair play to you, short-term pain for long-term gain. And some people are like, oh, well, what about living? And I agree. You have to have balance. But if that's always going to be your excuse, then you can't then say, oh, it's impossible to get on the property ladder, because there's people that are getting on the property ladder, but they're just choosing a slightly different philosophy, because that philosophy of short-term pain, long-term gain is short-term. Unless you're willing to make cutbacks and, not spend on unnecessary things. And I say unnecessary because when I grew up, we would have dinners out, like take-out dinner, whatever, maybe once every 2-3 months. My parents lived a super, super simple life, arguably boring, but it meant that they had a paid-off house by the time they were in their 40s. And people were probably thinking, oh, yeah, but houses were cheaper. Houses was about $25,000 when they bought it. But also interest rates were 10 times more than the best we've had, more than 10 times. Best we've had is roughly 2%, for example. They had 20-30% interest rates. So we can make all the excuses in the world and say all the reasons, but my philosophy always in a situation is, okay, there's things I can change and there's things I can't change. I can't change the interest rates right now. I can't change the house prices right now. There's a whole bunch of things I can't change. What I can change, what's in my control, is what I spend my money on. And when I had to move back in with my parents after losing everything and living on average like £1,000 a month, I couldn't get a bank account. I couldn't get a mobile phone contract. I couldn't get credit card. I couldn't get car finance. So I was forced into a situation where I could only buy things that were up to the value of what was in my bank account. And I am so unbelievably grateful for that situation that happened to me, because that's pretty much my philosophy now. If I was talking to Foray the other day, and he said he was listening to something, and the guy on that podcast or whatever said, I will only buy something if I can afford 3 of them. And I thought to myself, man, that's a nice way of looking at things. Nice, because I'm fascinated by that level of philosophy where you say, you know, so whatever the case may be, that's obviously on a slightly more major purchase, because let's face it, we can all buy, you know, 3 coffees or whatever the case may be. But all these little things that we say to ourselves, oh, it's only £5 there and only £10 there, you know, I got to live, and so on and so forth. There's a cost to thinking like that. And ultimately the cost is, you know, if I said to you that you live like an absolute pauper for 5 years, and in 5 years' time you can get the property ladder, I'd choose the pauper lifestyle, and I did. I didn't make the choice consciously. I made the choice unconsciously, because I didn't have a choice to live like that. And what happens is, I'm not a religious person, but what inevitably happens is, if you think of money as an energy, if you respect it, it will want to flow to you more. So as I lived within my means and I started to accumulate some savings, what then happened is more opportunity to make more money came along. And I'm not saying this because, you know, we're putting money on a pedestal. I'm just giving you this as a philosophy for, like, not talking about becoming a multi-millionaire, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just talking about living kind of your basic life, but being able to get on the property ladder and being able to then live and do nice things and treat yourself and so on and so forth. So short-term pain for long-term gain. It's in the same thing with weight loss as well. We talked about it before in previous videos. I always bang on about this. The reason most people are reason people are overweight is because they're unwilling to do the short-term pain for long-term gain. And pain being living without, you know, chocolate and ice cream and all the crap that we eat. You're more interested in satisfying yourself now. And with money, it's no different. It is the exact same philosophy, mental philosophy, that's going to get you to move forward rather than get stuck where you are. You can fight this as much as you want, because if you look back at your life and think, I've been in this for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and you're in the same situation that you've always been in, guess what? In the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you're going to be in the same situation, because you're waiting for external things to change. External things aren't going to change. There's always going to be something. So unless you change yourself, your future's not going to change. We've all had to face this reality. It's not a nice reality to face sometimes, but, you know, here we are. So yeah, I invite you to take an honest look at your situation, whatever that may be, and, you know, say to yourself, what do you say? You know, decide on some changes you're going to make and see how that pans out for 3 to 5 years. If you do that for 3 to 5 years, I guarantee you, you cannot help but move forward. And if anyone wants to reach out to me and have a conversation with me about this, I'd be happy to help and advise if I can. Everyone's situation is different. When it comes to money, everyone's situation is different. Everyone's philosophy is different. So there's no kind of one-size-fits-all thing. But just like the weight loss thing, the one-size-fits-all thing is, you know, you spend less, you have more. And you eat less, you gain weight more. And obviously there's situations there with people with medical ailments and so on. And there'll be those exceptional circumstances even with money where that may not be possible. But ultimately, I guess what I'm trying to say is we are the masters of our own destiny. And to wait for the external world to do something, they're not responsible for our well-being. We are. So we have to take responsibility and make changes ourselves to become more independent. So, yeah, thank you for watching. And if you like what I'm talking about, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. And yeah, I'm quite passive about this. This is not something I rely on for income, so I just take it easier here on YouTube. So thank you for watching. If you've gotten this far, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao for now.